Grinding all my life, sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. Look.
What up, Bucks fans? This is Giannis, the Greek freak. I'm excited for today. Big day today. I'll be here in Milwaukee for the next 5 years. This is my home, this is my city. I'm excited to be a part of this organization. I'm excited to go to war with my teammate. I'm excited to walk around this city. And it's been amazing, man. It's been amazing, and the show goes on, and let's get it.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Ball Don't Lie podcast. This is your boy Dexter, your host, the one and only. Welcome to another show. And before we kind of get into anything, I hope y'all had a great weekend. I hope y'all doing safe. COVID, vaccines coming around pretty soon. So for the ones that want to get vaccinated, and for the ones that don't, it's up to you guys, but we're almost there. So try to stay as safe as possible. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe on the bottom of the video. Make sure you hit the like button as well. Turn that bell, click that bell for the notifications. Anytime I drop a new video, you get an alert. And if you're on any of those streaming platforms, as far as audio wise, Apple Podcasts, etc., I'm on all streaming platforms, and I'll have all the links in the bottom. If you want to go to any of the social platforms, social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's at Ball Don't Lie, BALLDNTLIE. And for the ones that have been listening, appreciate the love. Before we kind of get into this episode, I'm excited that the NBA is back. I've been watching the preseason games. There's a couple of guys that stood out to me in the preseason and they were just killing. THT from the Lakers. You know, you had Guy. I forgot his first name, but you had Guy on the Kings just splashing it on anybody. And then there's a couple other guys too. Obviously, the big names didn't really pan out as well, but so far, like, there's a couple of good guys that I've seen during the preseason games. But I'm just waiting for the season to start. Let the superstars get in the court, all the best players get in the court, and let's see how the competition goes. In this episode, we're gonna be talking about breaking news about Giannis. Giannis Antetokounmpo just signed a Supermax with the Bucks. With the Milwaukee Bucks. $228.2 million over the course of the next 5 years? That's a lot of money. I'm glad he got the bag. But this is solely about, it's not about the money situation. I can tell you that right now. I mean, that's just me. The way I observed everything that's going on with Milwaukee and Giannis wasn't about the money. And I'll dig more into it in a moment. But yeah, Giannis just signed with the Bucks for $228 million. Most of y'all probably heard by now, because that was all over everybody's phones, right? Everybody heard about it. If you into NBA or in sports, you heard about Giannis' situation today. And Giannis, to me, I applaud you for that, man. I applaud you for that because, you know what I mean? You went against the grain. I mean, you like bucked the trend. All the other superstars left. Turned down money. LeBron James and company. Kevin Durant company. To a slight degree, Anthony Davis. But yeah, they pretty much said no to the money. In Giannis' situation, I mean, he came from a long road, though, man. This guy came from the bottoms. You know what I mean? When he was in Greece, I mean, he was selling jewelry on the side of the road. You know, sharing shoes with his brothers. Like, he didn't have a suit. Even he didn't even have a suit before the NBA draft. Imagine that. Didn't have a suit. Even when he was in the NBA, as far as a Buck, right? A Milwaukee Buck. Like, he was sending so much money back home to his family to survive that he didn't even have enough money to take a cab to the game. Sometimes he ran to the practice facility. Imagine that. Like, you in the league and you can't even afford to even get on a cab? So a long road for him that he just overachieved. He came from the bottoms, well deserved. And this is it's an eye opener to a lot of people. Because a lot of people thought Giannis would leave. And to me, like I said, this is not even about the money situation. Giannis, for the last couple of years, right, had the best record in the NBA. Right? Back-to-back MVPs. DPOY last year, right? Defensive Player of the Year. And MVP together. Get bounced out in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago to who? To the Raptors, right? They're up 2 games. And then next year, which was this past playoffs, you get eliminated by the Miami Heat. So Giannis has a lot to work. He has a lot to work on his game itself. But I blame part of this notion on the Milwaukee Bucks. And they did a lot as far as trying to help him out in the progress in the last 5-6 years. But they kind of dropped the ball in the last couple of years as far as trying to get talent to Milwaukee. And that's hard because small markets don't get teams like this. Small markets don't get players like this, right? It's very rare a small market can retain a superstar, especially a top 3 player in my books. LeBron James, right? The only reason why he stayed in Cleveland that long is because he's from the neck of the woods. I mean, Akron's close to Cleveland, but he's from that area. All right, hometown kid, etc. But they didn't build around him. You know the owner for the Cavaliers. They didn't build around LeBron James, so he dipped. And when he came back on the second go-around, he pretty much built his own team. He dictated what players to get, etc. But those are role players, right? Kevin Love was traded for Wiggins. Kyrie was drafted, etc., right? KD, for example, he was drafted by OKC. He left because obviously Russ played a role in it, right? Who's the alpha dog? Who's going to take the last shots? Russ was kind of getting involved in that spectrum. KD wasn't having it. But what piled onto all that was because they traded James Harden for what? Kevin Martin? Kevin Martin was an okay scorer. Like he do give you 26, 27 points, had an orthodox shot, playing Sacramento Kings for a while. They went to Houston and he got shipped for James Harden. I'm pretty sure KD wasn't happy with that because it was a $6 million difference. He wanted I forgot what it was, the dollar amount, but it was $6 million short. OKC came up to him and said, hey, man, we're not going to pay that more than that. And shipped him off and decided to keep Ibaka, who they eventually traded down the road to the Magics for Victor Oladipo, who they eventually traded for Paul George. Obviously, KD wasn't there at the time, but so that's the reason why KD left. But in this situation, they try to build everything around Giannis. Everything. They try to get players. It's hard to get, I'll say, marquee players to come to Milwaukee because it's just a small town. A lot of people don't want to go to Milwaukee. People don't want to be there 6, 7 months, 8 months out of the year. They just don't. Same thing with Cleveland. Same thing with Detroit. Like, people don't want to stay in small markets like that. Players like to be, you know, they want the aura to be in like in LA or New York or Miami or even Phoenix or Houston or Dallas. Even the Bay Area of the Warriors. Players don't want to go somewhere where it's cold most of the time they're there. Why do you think Kawhi didn't like Toronto? They gave him everything. There was even businesses coming out and say, hey, I'll give you a loft, a penthouse. Restaurants came out saying, we'll give you lifetime, dinner, lunch, whatever it is at this restaurant. He turned all down those perks because he's like, man, I can't deal with the cold. And came to La La Land and joined the Clippers. So going back to Giannis, I applaud you for that, for staying, because a lot of people don't do that. Imagine Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller stayed, but Reggie Miller wasn't even like a marquee player. He was okay in the league, but he wasn't a superstar. You feel me? So the whole Giannis situation, getting that bag and all that, that's great. The Milwaukee organization, they did a lot over the last 5, 6, 7 years. They built a brand new arena, the Bradley Center. Brand new practice facility. Right? They try to get players around Giannis. They try to draft good players. Jabari Parker in the worlds, right? They try to get, which they had. But due to injuries, they let him go, obviously, right? Then you get players like Wesley Matthews. Obviously, you have Chris Middleton, but you got Wesley Matthews. You have a Brook Lopez. You have Bledsoe. Like, they're always actively trying to get players. The only problem is that big name players don't want to come to Milwaukee. So Milwaukee did everything in their power in this offseason to get players, and they got Drew Holiday in a trade. They tried to get Bogdanovich, which they fumbled because they wanted to talk so early. And then that crumbled. And obviously, Giannis is seeing, okay, this is working out. You know, I got a couple players going on. But I think he did it more for the fact that what they did for him. Imagine. They drafted this kid, gave him the keys to the franchise. You know, he loves Milwaukee. First that he came to the country, they loved him. They treated him well. Even though he wasn't even a great player, they loved who he was. And for him, he's a different kind of breed. He's built different. He ain't like these kids that grew up in the States. You know, they went through the AAU circuit and they went to this top-notch college and they think they're the ish, and next thing you know, they want everything. He's not like that. So I'm glad for Giannis for what he did. Obviously, teams like the Miami Heat, the Raptors, the Golden State Warriors, obviously they're all bummed out, even the Sixers to a slight degree, because they're all were trying to figure out how to get into the Giannis sweepstakes this offseason. But he decided to stay, and these teams got to figure out, okay, well, we got to go probably, find some other players. Which over time, players will come up, and then everybody will have a certain degree of a shot at those players. But Giannis was the biggest fish, and that's off the tables. And to me, I can't even fathom, because like he went against the grain, like seriously against the grain. And it's not like a shocker that he signed an extension. It's more about like the NBA actually won by him staying in Milwaukee. And I'll give you an example. In 2011-12, when they did the lockout, right? Part of the CBA, right? The collective bargaining agreement was to give Supermax to players that stayed on their respective franchises. So when they become a free agent, obviously you have to have bird rights, bird years into your contract to get the Supermax, which means you got to be there for like 3-4 years, whatever it may be. Or that's just your original team. They give you more money. So 228 was for what Giannis signed. If he went anywhere else, regardless what team it is, the max I think he would have signed was like 176, 178, around that ballpark. So he would have lost like, what, 55-ish, around that 50 million around there. So it gives the luxury, the incentive that players can stay. But like I said, reluctantly, all these players left. LeBron left, KD left, AD in a sense left. Turned down the Supermax to go somewhere else. The reason why I don't even kind of use LeBron is because he's been signing one-year deals. So players don't even want to go to Cleveland because they don't know the situation. Like the Paul George situation. Paul George was about to get traded to Cleveland for Kyrie, and all he asked was, if LeBron's gonna stay there, I'm willing to sign then. Like as far as like a long-term extension. But if you can't reinsure me, he's gonna be there past 1 year, I ain't gonna come. Then they asked LeBron, he's like, well, I ain't telling nobody about what I'm gonna do. If you're gonna come, you're gonna come. If not, then oh well. That's why that trade crumbled. That's what Kyrie heard about it. He was like, Kyrie, I'm out of here. You trying to trade me for Ball George? I'm out. But now Giannis has 5 years in his books. I'm telling you, players are willing to turn down money to come join him. And it will happen. I'm not saying superstars, but an all-star pedigree kind of player might come to Milwaukee. Because they know he has 5 years, including this year on top of that, which is 6 years on the books that he's going to be in Milwaukee. And everything looks sweet and fine and dandy right now. But when things crumble, when stuff hits the fan, that's when you have players like James Harden say, I don't want the $50 million each year for 2 years, 100+ mil. I don't want that. I want to be traded. And they did everything for James Harden in Houston. They built around him. They gave him whatever he wanted, whatever players he asked for. They gave it to him. Now he wants to be out. So is it possible that Giannis might stay there for 5-6 years? I don't know. But if he wants to leave, he can't leave for at least 2 more years, because part of the whole 5-year deal is that 2 years you can't be traded. Either way, either he seeks a trade or the team wants to trade him. But let me show you what he tweeted before I get into the whole LeBron James, because they asked LeBron James about the whole Giannis situation. This is what he tweeted. This is my home. This is my city. I'm blessed to be able to be part of the Milwaukee Bucks for the next 5 years. Let's make these years count. The show goes on. Let's get it. So, like, I guess he seemed kind of stoked about how the tweet, or how he came out with the Twitter on Instagram about what he was referring to. Like, let the show go on. Let's get it. That's only for right now. We'll see what happens in a couple of years when you don't make it, because right now, that team's a contender. You have a shot to win. And if you don't, players, moods change quick. Especially when you have a different GM, new GM, different direction in ownership. So we'll see what happens in 5 years. I hope he wins the title. I mean, that team, Giannis has a chance. As long as he's healthy, he has a chance of being a contender and winning the title. Yes, he can. So I hope everything goes well for Giannis in the city of Milwaukee. And I'm happy for them. Small markets, man. I know y'all been hurt over the years, but I know Detroit and Cleveland and other cities, even though he ain't coming to you, you should be happy. Because usually it's always the big teams, the big cities that do win, the big names in either free agency or trades. And Milwaukee hasn't been relevant for a long time. I think last time they won a title was 74 with Big O, Oscar Robertson, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That was 74. That was a while ago. Man, Milwaukee hasn't been relevant for a superstar to give you some type of loyalty. Last time the Bucks were even relevant in modern time was when they had Ray Allen and Glenn Robinson. Glenn Big Dog. So, and Sam Cassell too. So it has been a while. But yeah, let me give this clip about what LeBron James said about, or they asked him about the whole Giannis situation. And he kind of brushed it off like it's different, but it ain't different. I'm pause his music for a second and see what he got to say.
I don't know if I can relate to his situation. All of our situations are different. Totally different, actually. They've tried to build something great for him, and obviously they did enough to keep him there. And I think it's great that he's staying there. He's committed to that franchise, and and that's what it's all about. So, but I don't think my situation and his situation, it's no similarities, and it's totally different.
Obviously, it's totally different in certain degrees, yeah, because LeBron signs a 1 year. You don't sign. We're surprised that he signed with the Lakers for the next 3-4 years, right? He tends to sign a 1 year deal because he controls his fate. And then yet this runs amok in the league. Players start doing the same thing. KD's the world signing 1 year deals, 2 year deals. AD was doing the same thing. Or he was thinking about doing the same thing, but he said, you know what, I'm getting injured. I'm not just going to secure this 5 year deal. 193 something mil. Yeah, but we'll see what happens. I pray for Giannis. I wish him the best. I think the team has enough pieces to compete and be competitive. The NBA, to me, in some degree, is probably smiling, right? Because if Giannis didn't sign, they're going to throw this whole thing out in the next CBA. Like, you know what? This Supermax money ain't working. Let's just get rid of it. But it worked out because LeBron, like I said, LeBron had a situation where he was controlling his own fate, and KD had enough about what the organization was doing. But Milwaukee did everything to power, other than the fact that they messed up on two things since Giannis been there. A, they never went over the luxury tax the last couple of years when they're the best team in the league. to get players that are more suitable to probably fit with him. That's one. And then the second thing was the bombshell about the whole Bogdanovich situation, training for him, leaking that stuff out, speaking too early, and next thing you know, it crumbled when he heard about the news. I was like, I'm going to Atlanta. Peace. So other than that, that's the only two things they messed up on. I can't wait to see. NBA starts a week from today, basically. So everybody's going to be watching this whole Giannis situation. I know the reason why he came out with this news is because the guy he is, he'll get irritated if they kept talking about this during the games. Every time the Bucks lose, they're going to talk about, what's up with the contract situation? Are you going to leave? So I'm glad he got that out of the way. Now he can focus on about winning that championship. So we'll see what happens. Season starts in a week. I'm going to be watching all the games, as much as I can. But I'm glad y'all tuned in to see about this whole Giannis situation, this breaking news. This has definitely turned the tide in the league, in my eyes. Well, until then, guys, I appreciate your support. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I mean, before we go, you think the Bucks were like, can we get rid of your brother now? Because we only had him here because of you. Now that you're here for 6 years, can we get rid of your brother? Imagine if that actually happened, right? Man. But anyways, I'm glad y'all tuned in. I hope y'all appreciate this little breaking news situation with Giannis. More to come about what's going to happen in the NBA for the next week. More episodes to come. So y'all be safe. Y'all try to, protect yourselves and your loved ones. Hope y'all excited about the NBA coming around the corner. It's going to be an interesting year. And I promise y'all bring y'all more content about more information. That's what I definitely will do. So y'all be safe, man. Take care of yourself. See y'all next time. Peace.